The discussion between electronic and cable shifting is one that perhaps divides the cycling world. Today we're going to talk about the Wheeltop EDS TX electronic group set and why it might be perfect for you. Guys, welcome back to the What Life. Let's get into it. Before we take a closer look at the group set itself, I just want to say there is a reason why you're seeing more of it on your social media. Both Grant from GC Performance and David Arthur have recently done reviews on this, and there is good reason why. Wheeltop is now working with distributors in France, Spain, Poland and Italy, as well as shipping to different regions including the UK. I also know that they're working with a PR agency, the same agency that works with DJI, so they are taking this very seriously. I watched David Arthur's video and I saw that one of the biggest reviews or biggest comments about his content was simply that people were worried that a company that is based out in China is not going to be so concerned with QC as well as customer service. And those are very valid concerns. But what I will say is it seems like Wheeltop are positioning themselves to become more of a global brand and be competitive with the big three. This is actually very important because it makes a very good point. You want your consumer base to feel like they are looked after, not just sold a product and forgotten about. It seems like with the way that Wheeltop are going that they are moving in that direction. They're doing the right things. They're working with distributors and they're also using a PR agency. This is not just a company that is looking to sell you a group set and then forget about it. Obviously, this is very much my experience with them as well. So I am someone that creates content on the internet. I am aware that I might get treated a little bit differently, but I would like to think that with everything that they have been doing, the fact that they are working with distributors, it does go to show that they are invested in the picture as a whole, the community as a whole. And I'm hoping that pushes through when we talk about it today. So let's take a closer look at the Wheeltop EDS TX group set. I obviously use the phrase group set a little bit loosely here because you do not get a front chainring, there are no cranks. We are simply talking about brakes, levers, front derailleur and rear derailleur. So one thing I do want to talk you through is setting up my bike with the Sram Force group set and then the kit that comes with the Wheeltop group set. And the reason this is important, or the reason I want to talk about it, is pretty simple. Guys, I like building bikes. I like servicing my bikes. I like doing everything myself, and I've built a couple of bikes and I've obviously taken you guys on that journey with me. So basically, my main concern is whether I can take what Wheeltop have provided, put it on my bike and do that quite seamlessly. I am basically very hands-on, and I would imagine that if I was going to encourage you guys to go out and buy yourself an electronic group set, perhaps as an upgrade from your previous mechanical, then I want you guys to be able to know that you could actually put this on your bike, the good things about it and perhaps the not so good things about it compared to some of the other brands out there. So one of the things I did see on David Arthur's video was a lot of people talking about the Shimano 105 group set and how you're able to get that at a good price. I will say from my experience, I got my Sram Force group set at a very good price, but that's because I bought it OEM. So what does that mean? It means that the distributor had bought in bulk products from the brand. They then sold me part of those products, threw it all in a big brown box and shipped it over to me. There was no instructions, there was no guide, and there was absolutely no packaging. So when it arrived, I was just ladled with loads of different parts and not really any idea of how I put them together. But the important thing that I want to impress upon you is that buying a group set where you get instructions, where you get guided through things, is actually very important. And particularly important is the one thing that I did notice is that when you buy the Wheeltop group set, it comes with the simple things like screws to screw in the brackets for your brake levers, which when I bought my OEM group set, I had to go and buy screws independently after realizing halfway through my build that they were not provided. So this is the box that the main part of the group set comes in. As you can see, you get a rear derailleur, a front derailleur, and then the two levers. Now the quality of this seems very nice. And the reason I actually like this group set is because it is, in simple terms, based upon the Sram model of having a battery mounted entirely on the front derailleur and the rear derailleur. You don't have to worry about mounting a battery within the frame and then running cables to the rear derailleur, which would be the Shimano model. So if I was to encourage someone who was looking to swap from a mechanical to an electronic group set and they wanted to do it themselves, for the price of £626 for the disc brake version, I think you are getting a really good deal. Although I will say that I haven't actually tested it out yet. So I'm just basing this on the fact that you're able to convert from mechanical to electronic. So the reason I like this style of product is because I would encourage anyone to take this product, effectively just bolt it onto your bike, make the small adjustments, and in theory, you should be good to go. And actually, I don't see any reason why that couldn't be you. My go-to choice for a group set would actually be one that has batteries mounted on the derailleurs. The difference between the Wheeltop version and the Sram version is that these batteries themselves are not removable. So when you're charging the batteries, you are going to have to put your bike near a charging port or a power cable. And that's the only difference really. I will say I do quite enjoy the fact that I can take my batteries off my Sram and put them in the kitchen next to the door, take them out the next day, put them back on the bike. Having to put my bike somewhere where I have to run cables, not massive inconvenience, but is certainly something to consider. Even though the batteries are mounted on the front and rear derailleur, they are removable. So if anything were to go wrong or if there was a major malfunction, these can be removed and maybe sent back and replacements provided. They do recommend not to use third-party batteries, but at the same time, I think that if anything was to happen, you'd be able to go back to the provider, the distributor, or whoever you bought them from, and hopefully they'd be able to rectify the problem. But it is good to know that that is not kind of built in and non-removable. So I might not be an engineer or a bike shop mechanic, but I do love building bikes. If I was to look at the quality of these, I do feel like they are built very, very well. So I can't talk about the working ability of the group set because I haven't had a chance at all to test it out. This is more of an unboxing and just a first look and taking a look at the product and hopefully just kind of giving you an idea of what I feel like it would be to someone who's not an engineer or a bike shop mechanic in terms of getting this on your bike and working. So one of the unique selling points about the Wheeltop is simply that you are able to change the speed of your rear derailleur, which is something that the other big three manufacturers are just locking away behind closed doors. If you have a 10 speed and then you upgrade to an 11 speed, you can simply just let the app know. And then there will be little adjustments that you can make to make sure that it runs smoothly. So one of the small things that does worry me about this is the cover over the charging port on the front and rear derailleurs. Because you have to plug it in, it comes with this little rubber tab that you should then be able to push over the charging port to protect it from the weather. I am slightly worried that because it is quite thin, that after a few weeks of use, you might end up pulling that off, which would then leave the charging port exposed. I also find it a little bit hard to close and lock that in. Just might end up leaving the charging port open to the elements, which I don't know what the effect of that would be, but it doesn't seem like it's ideal. Not something that is too much of a worry, but I can't help but feel on something where the battery is non-removable is a bit of an issue. And even just playing with it here, I am struggling a little bit to get that to close properly. The rear derailleur is able to work with an up to 36th tooth cassette, which is good for anyone that's running that slightly larger model of SRAM rear cassettes. And I'm upgrading to a 3411 soon, and then having a group set that's able to handle that and up to 36 teeth is obviously a bonus. So let me run you through pairing this device real quickly. And if you're gonna pair everything that's in this box, which is the rear derailleur, the front derailleur, and the levers, it's not actually that hard, but it was a tiny bit confusing given that the translation on the manual isn't, I wouldn't say perfect. I do understand the difficulties of working in one language and having to translate it to another, but it did take me a few tries to figure it out, and I found myself standing in my kitchen reading it out aloud nice and slowly so that I could understand it. Ultimately, I did it first time though, but it did take me a few attempts of just reading through the manual a couple of times, double checking before I went along. It's pretty simple though. Take your rear derailleur, plug it in on the mains, remove the power from the mains. Take your front derailleur, plug it into the mains, remove the power from the mains, and then they should sync up. Similar with the levers, once you have done the rear and the front derailleur, take your levers, take the battery out the levers, Press the controls on the levers and then put the batteries back in, and everything will sync up nice and easy. So the way that the levers work, they are not quite Shimano, but they are also not quite SRAM. So on the right lever, you have two buttons, one to go up through the gears and one to move down through the gears. On your left lever, you have a single button that just changes the front derailleur. In actual fact, it makes perfect sense. But again, if you are running different models on different bikes, you're gonna have to basically get a little bit used to it, or just kind of ride it for a bit and get used to the mindset. So your right lever works with your rear derailleur and takes you up and down through the gears. I've actually really injured my middle finger on my right hand, and I am struggling to change through the gears because it's almost like a double compression. It does hurt a little bit to do it, but bear in mind there is a chance I might have broken my finger. All the same, I can still do it though and just kind of push through the gears. There are two modes on the derailleurs. One is normal mode or casual mode, and the second is sports mode. The sports mode will work through the battery a little bit quicker, but you might be a bit more used to charging your components, in which case, if you are like me, you will probably end up using sports mode more than you care to admit. So I can't really talk about the ergonomics of the levers before putting them on a bike, but what I can say is that the lever itself is made from carbon fiber. So in actual fact, they don't feel like they are particularly heavy. I have held it up and compared it to my SRAM force lever, and I can say that the height of the lever itself is perhaps not quite as tall and maybe not quite so long. I haven't really tried putting it on a bar and using it in terms of grip, but I will say that the button compressions feel quite nice, but that's about as much as I can give you for now. So who is this group set for? Guys, if you are considering going from mechanical to electronic, then perhaps this is the one for you. It's a product that you can take out the box and have on your bike and do it all yourself. I would also say that if you have a mechanical group set at the moment and you have 4 cables coming out the front of your bars and stem, you might be able to reduce that down to 2 and make it a little bit more aero, and that in itself is a few watts savings. Not every bike is going to be able to run its cables internally for the brakes, but you will be able to get rid of the gear changing lines, which I guess makes the bike more aero and I think adds to a cooler look. I'm not going to dive into the argument between mechanical and electronic, because as someone that has been on the side of the road when his batteries have run out, I will say that there is an argument to run mechanical. But if there were 2 bikes in front of me and one was mechanical and one was electronic, I would always take the electronic group set. Why do you ask? Well, I index all my gears, and that's something that's a lot easier when you are using electronic group sets. You can do it through the app, guys, and that makes a big difference for someone that likes to service their own bikes. I've spent hours actually trying to index cable bikes. It's not particularly fun. It's not fun at all, actually, I'll put it that way. With electronic group set, it is way easier, and having that ability to change and micro change on the rear shifter does make all the difference in terms of putting a bike together and looking after it and servicing it yourself. Also, I think the shifting on an electronic group set is just a lot more enjoyable. Plus, you get that nice little sound every time you change the front derailleur that just lets people know that you're in the big ring after a hill before you've got to the top. So the obvious thing is that Wheeltop don't make a crank and chainring just yet. But with the difference in bottom bracket sizes and different spindle sizes, I actually think at the moment that's going to be fine. From someone who likes building bikes, I know that having that wider dub spindle actually does provide a few problems when it comes to building a bike. There are other third-party manufacturers that can make spindles and cranks that you can then use with your Wheeltop product. So you can put together a full group set, you just have to buy the components from 2 different companies. I actually don't think that's a bad way to do it. I think you can find something that's going to suit your needs, perhaps with an inbuilt power meter as well. And then you'd be able to upgrade your bike to a full electronic with power meter group set, probably for a little bit less than what it would cost if you were to do that through Sram or Shimano. If you are someone that's thinking about upgrading their bike from mechanical to electronic, or perhaps you are doing a bike build and you want to consider the Wheeltop EDS-TX as a potential group set, then do drop a comment below and I will help you out as much as I can. I haven't had a chance to ride it yet, but I am very much looking forward to putting it on a bike. Like I said, the main standout benefits is the fact that you don't have to mount a battery into the bike. You can actually just take this whole product put it on your bike and it shouldn't take you too long. I don't think you need to have a degree in engineering to do it, because I built a few bikes myself and I take a look at this group set, I take a look at the way that they've built it, and I think actually I could probably work with that and I can get that done and on my bike pretty easily. It won't be long until I put this on my bike and I'll be able to give you a full review. I'll probably run it with my Sram Force cranks and my Sram cassette, and I'll let you guys know how it works and whether it's any good at shifting under load, and I'll take it through a full test. Till then, I can say that the product itself seems like it is reasonably good, if not very good quality in terms of build quality. I know that on the box itself there is a sticker that says QC with some ticks on it, which does suggest that they are taking their production and their quality control incredibly seriously. I also know that as a company they have quite big goals. They want to start distributing to America, and obviously at the moment they are shipping and distributing to the UK and Europe. Do drop me a message if you found this useful or if you are considering upgrade. Guys, like I said, I'm here to help everyone out. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you on the next one. Please do like and subscribe if you want to.